Welcome everyone, thanks for coming. I'm Dr. Dewey Howell. I'm with PCC. I've been with PCC for about 4 years now formally, but I've been working with PCC for a long time. I'm really excited about the presentation today. I'm going to show you talk about EPA and everything we've done with EPA so far and what we're planning. And then given Morgan's bombshell news this morning, I'm also going to show you prescribing from the phone for those of you that want to see prescribing from your phone, because I can show you that as well. Just a couple really quick slides. So I'm fairly new on the scene here at PCC, so I put up a slide just to tell folks who I am. Again, I'm a family medicine physician. I left practice quite a while ago now, 2005. Founded a software company, and I built eRx, and a lot more than just eRx at the time, but built it from the ground up and sold it to hospitals and clinics and all around the country. And then PCC was one of my clients, and then PCC bought it, and then PCC grabbed me. And so now I get to keep working on my baby and keep improving it for you guys. So I've really been working, even though I'm formally a PCC member for 4 years or something, I've been working with PCC for almost a decade, I think. Right, Morgan? Somewhere in that ballpark? Yeah, so, I mean, I left practice because I saw a real opportunity for improving clinician workflows and improving patient safety through technology. I've been a techie all my life, and I just thought this was a good niche for me. And so clinician efficiency and patient safety are everything to me. Like your doctors, I count clicks. I hate every single click I have to make, and try to cut them out whenever I can. That applies to not just software we write for docs, but also the stuff we do for nurses and pharmacists and everyone else that uses the software. So, oh, and just, you know, if you ever want to talk about some of my hobbies and stuff, my fur babies over here, I can talk to you for days about aquarium fish and an aquarium hobby that got really out of control many years ago. And then bats are an interesting story I can tell you about. And then anyone ever want to talk about my Fighting Irish, we can talk about that for days too. So again, I'm going to give you an overview of EPA, and then we're going to show you actual working software. It's prototype, so it's all fake, if you will. It's not fully built, but it's enough for you guys to get a really good appreciation of how it's going to work, how the clicks are going to work. Has anyone come to our drop-ins for this? No? Yeah, you did. Great. So that's great, because one of the things I'm going to show here, I've shown in our drop-ins. So it's a little bit redundant for folks that have been to our drop-ins recently, but be new to everyone else. Then we'll have questions and feedback. I'll save some time to show you the sexy prescribing from the phone as well, because everybody wants to see that. So with that, let me bring up, where's my mouse? All right. So I'm going to start with a workflow diagram. Oh, yeah. Shoo. I'm going to start with a workflow diagram, and I don't expect you to see it at this level. I'm going to zoom in and talk to you about it, but yeah, we're going to be dealing with this. All right, so anyway, this is a big workflow diagram that tells you all about EPA. I'm afraid to touch anything, but I'm going to have to anyway. So I show it at this level to give you a really good idea about how complex this project is. So just to level set, electronic prior authorization. I think probably everyone in the room knows what I'm talking about. Medications where you prescribe it and then the insurance company says, we're not going to pay for it unless you find our form, fill it out, fax it to us, argue why you need it, all this kind of stuff. You know, suits telling the doctors how to practice medicine. As you know, my bias. I thought I'd lay it out there. But, and so Many of you probably use Cover My Meds for this. Who uses Cover My Meds? Is everybody? Yeah. So it seems like just about everybody uses Cover My Meds. One of the reasons everyone uses Cover My Meds is they're in the pharmacy's pockets. So the pharmacies, most of the pharmacies these days, the big ones in particular, have an easy button essentially where they can say, start a PA. They're not really starting it. All they're doing is sending a message to Cover My Meds to fax something to you to say that you need one and that it's been started, but it hasn't really been started. It's just set up so that you can go in there and start it. So, which you guys know what I'm talking about. You go in there, you enter a code, then you got to type in all this stuff, right? So, I mean, it's good. It's a heck of a lot better than doing it all manually, right? But wouldn't it be nice if you don't ever have to go to Cover My Meds again, right? So that you can do exactly what you do in Cover My Meds and more right in the EHR and eRx, right? Don't have to retype stuff. Don't have to hunt and peck for documents and things to attach. Don't have to hit up against barriers in terms of document size attachments. You know, all of these, I think these are barriers and things that are a little clunky in your workflows with EPA. And then I want to highlight for me one of the biggest things with EPA that to me, it's really the biggest problem is a communication problem, right? It's really hard to get the practice and the patient and the pharmacy all on the same page, like that one's needed, that it's been started, that it's been approved, that I can go pick it up now. I mean, how much time do we spend getting back and forth on those kind of things? Now, wouldn't it be nice if that communication and that shared understanding was had by all? And so that's really a big goal. And so if I zoom in on this, just to give you a good idea, again, I'm going to probably break this, but I want to zoom in so that you can see this a little bit more. So I want to start with those goals, right? It's really to improve communication between the practice and the pharmacy and the patient. And you can notice I've color-coded these, and you'll see these color coding in the document or in the diagram that shows all the touch points that we have targeted to do just that. Of course, another really important goal is to minimize the delay in the patient getting their medications, right? Ultimately, that's what it's about, right? Making this a better experience for the patient, and they get their medications. They don't abandon the medications because, A, they can't pay for it, or they don't want to go through the rigmarole. They don't want to wait however long it's going to take. All the reasons that people hate PAs. We want to ensure that the PA can be completed quickly and efficiently. Quickly, we had some meetings with some of our clients and watched people do the PA process, including what they do in Cover My Meds, and I personally wouldn't call it quick and efficient. So it works. Again, it's better than that, but I wouldn't call it quick and efficient. So we hope to really address that for all of you. We want to save the users time, right? And I should say, you know, in my presentation style, as you can probably tell, is pretty relaxed. I want you guys to jump in. You don't have to wait till the end to ask questions. Please ask questions, and I'm happy to go off script. I don't even have a script, so I can't really go off script.
Can I make a plug, Dewey?
Yeah.
So for our virtual attendees, we'd like to capture your comments and questions on the mic. If you shout it out, I can repeat it in the mic for you, or I can bring the mic to you. Or you can walk right up to it. So that's our wish, and we'll be flexible and we'll make it work.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so let me walk through this diagram a little bit more, just so that I can show you kind of how we laid it out. So again, you'll notice the color coding, and this describes these communication touch points of pharmacy and patient and practice to ensure that everybody's on the same page. There's also a fun green color. I call that the green path or the happy path. That is when everything goes right? We submit it. It can be done electronically because the insurance got their their stuff together, and they can submit you some questions. You answer those questions, and they approve you, right? That can happen within minutes. I mean, I don't know how often it really happens within minutes, but allegedly this can happen within minutes, right? And so we call that I call that the green path, and that's we'll go through that first. But there's, as this diagram illustrates, there's a lot of offshoots, a lot of different entry points. A fax from the pharmacy, key entry point. There's an entry point from renewing it at the year mark, or when their prior auth expires and you need to create a new one. How do you know that you need to create a new one? How do you ensure that you do that, right? So there's a lot of offshoots here. And then there's, of course, offshoots for when it's, what happens when it gets approved, what happens when it gets denied, what happens when it gets partially denied, what happens when it gets denied and you want to appeal it, right? It's pretty clear from what I'm talking about that this is a complex project, right? And this is why Morgan and I, and our team, we were like, well, the next release is 10.2, which is 4 months, and I'm like, guys, I don't think we can build all of this in 4 months. You're going to see something that looks pretty functional, but it's just a prototype. I still got to build all the guts, which is going to take more than 4 months. And so that's why we kind of pivoted a little bit and said, well, I think I can do Pocket PCC in 4 months. So why don't we do that? And so because I didn't want to have a bunch of time pressure on EPA to force us to do it quickly or not. I really wanted to take it carefully and make sure we get it right. Because this is a project that I've personally been interested in for a decade, and I've seen the other systems, and I've felt like no other vendor's really done it right. And so I wanted to be able to show the industry, this is how you should do prior auth. This is how you do it right? And I don't want there to be a time pressure on that. So again, let's talk about the green line path a little bit. So in this green line path, and I'm going to show you in a minute, we'll get to something exciting where we show you the actual prototype, so you'll get a real appreciation, not just words and graphics. But the provider creates a prescription. At the time of the prescription, we know that a PA is needed, or we suspect that a PA is needed. We now often know that a PA is needed because we have this real-time prescription benefit in place now, which has dramatically helped doctors know that, hey, the insurance company is telling us that a PA is needed if you're going to prescribe this. And so when that situation arrives, you can just shoot that off, and it can start the PA process automatically for you. No extra clicks, no extra nothing. So that it starts and it shows up in your PA work queue to be worked. You don't have to wait for a fax from someone. You don't have to wait for the pharmacy to tell you. You don't have to wait for the patient to tell you, hey, that was expensive and I can't. It's just going to start, right? So, and I'll show you that. It gets initiated with the PBM, or the PBM, pharmacy benefit manager, would really just, you could say insurance plan. EPA has started. The insurance, and this initiation with the PBM is an important decision tree point in which 3 different things can happen here. We either can get back and the insurance company says, basically, we don't support electronic. A PA is needed, but you got to do it. You got to go get our form, or you got to call us, or those are the ones you love, right? So that's the bottom, into the manual process there. And we'll talk about the manual process a little bit, because I think even with what we're going to do, I think you're going to see our manual process is going to be greatly improved. Number 2, EPA started, and we're staying on the green line path. Number 1 might be, hey, the PA is not needed after all, right? Maybe because as good as that information is that we get in that, it's not 100% perfect. I've never thought it was 100% perfect, and so there are times where it says it's needed, you start it, and they say, no, we're good. And that's okay. I consider that that's a positive path, right? So, but yeah, those are it's a real important decision point there. At that point, the PBM returns questions, right? So they say, if they support EPA, they say, here are some questions. If you answer these questions, we'll give you an answer, approved or denied. Or in reality, they'll give you an answer, approved, denied, partial denied, we need more information. So they're a bunch of answers, but to simplify things, they'll tell you approved or denied, right? And so you answer those questions and you submit them. And again, this is another pretty important decision tree point where you either are told, hey, it's approved, it's denied. Partial is somewhere in the middle there. We'll talk more about that in a future drop-in. Not even today. And then they might say more information requested. I kept that green because we're still happy, assuming that that information is easy to attach, and we attach it, and then it gets approved, and so we haven't left the happy path really. May add a little bit of time, but at least we're still happy. If you're denial, at that point you might change the prescription and need to communicate to a bunch of places. You might deny, or you might appeal, and there's a full electronic appeal process, right? For some insurance plans, right? Some insurance plans don't allow electronic appeal, even if they do EPA, right? You guys know this because you get the same kind of responses from Cover My Meds, probably, right? And sometimes you can appeal it electronically, sometimes you can't. And then, and if it's approved, then we update statuses, we communicate everywhere that we need to, and go from there. So anybody have questions about like that general overall flow? Yeah?
Not the overall flow itself, but just wondering so are y'all planning on making this like another tab up at the top to see within like the medication queue, or is this something that the PA is only going to be able to be accessed through eRx?
Sure. Yeah, so the question is, where are we going to see this? Is it going to be an extra tab in the medication queue? Is it only going to be in eRx? Is it going to be in EHR? How's this going to work? And she's stealing my thunder.
I'm sorry.
No, it's great. I want questions. Yeah, no, it's great. I'm going to show you I'm going to answer all of those so completely you'll be pretty happy. And in fact, I just wanted to give you this basis of this diagram. We might come back to it for some of the side areas, but I wanted to just establish this kind of overall flow to make sure we're all on the same page and kind of how we're thinking about it. Because we spent a lot of time trying to put together, making sure we had all these flows. And if anyone wants this diagram, it's a pretty cool diagram. You're welcome to send it to you. It'll help you like think about it and talk to your peeps about it. I think it's pretty good.
Are you okay if we snap a picture of it?
Oh yeah, of course. But again, we can give you the actual raw PDF. So yeah, you don't have to. No need to snap. I mean, you're welcome to. But all right. So with that, any other questions before I jump in and show you it in action? Because now the questions like that will be answered really, really clearly. No? All right. Let's do this thing. All right. You guys recognize this?
We have a question from the chat.
Okay.
Follow my own advice here and do it in the mic. So from Kayla Williamson, I'm not sure which office you're with. Dewey may address this, but will a PA save if you need to exit or pause for some reason and come back later?
Yeah, great question. And absolutely I'll address it. But I can say unequivocally that it'll absolutely save as you go. I remember in 2005 when I was first designing my systems, it was like a non-negotiable starting point that I told my devs that we have got to save as you go, because I can't tell you the times that I was using early EHRs where I got called away for a code or whatever in the hospital, and I come back and I'm like, start the old darn thing over again. There's nothing worse. So there'll be none of that. I think I can say confidently there'll be none of that. We haven't, I should say, again, this is a prototype. All of the decisions about all of these are kind of, they're conditional decisions at this point. We put together a prototype so that we can answer questions like you had and others have and see it practically. Because it's kind of hard to take that, as much as I love that diagram, it's hard to take that and visually map it to how you work in the EHR, right? And so by having a prototype, we could say, this is how you're going to actually work it. And that way we could get feedback, right? So I expect things to change, but saving as you go is a fundamental Dewey no-no that I don't think I would ever allow that to happen. Not saving as you go is a no-no. All right, so I'm going to pop out to eRx, and again, I'm going to start on this green path as a doctor who's writing a prescription. This isn't the only entry path, it's just the first entry path that I'm going to talk about. So I'm a doctor, I pull up this patient's chart, I go down to prescribe, I prescribe Adderall, and we get our formulary that says, hey, prior auth's required. And what you'll notice here, start EPA is there and a checkbox, and it's automatically checked. It's automatically checked because we know that prior auth's required. If it said prior auth was not required, or it was silent about prior auth, didn't tell us one way or another, the checkbox will still be there, but it won't be checked. So if I think it's probably required, but it didn't auto-check, one click and you can start that and run with it. There's expedited. You guys see that in Cover My Meds, expedited, or I don't know what word they use, but it's like, I'm not sure how expedited it is. I think it's slow and slightly less slow. So but slightly less slow is too big for the checkbox. So I decided to go with their expedited word, even though I don't believe it. So you click start EPA, you hit process, and we're talking about Adderall here after all. I got to put in my 2-factor, approve it on my phone, all that jazz. That prescription goes off, and as I mentioned in the diagram, the EPA process is automatically started. So this is an important communication point. We want to make sure everyone knows, not just the doctor that saw it, we want everyone to know that, hey, a prior auth was started. A prior auth's in progress. It was needed, we started it, right? So let me show you all the places. Prior auth in progress. Prior auth in progress. But not just eRx, because you might not be in eRx, right? What if you're over in EHR and this is where you go and you first go to their medication history? Prior auth in progress, right? What if, so that's, again, designed to effectively communicate to the practice or anyone involved that, hey, prior auth is in progress here. And I'm going to show you the queue, and we're going to talk about the queue in a minute. But the other communication point is to the pharmacy. So the pharmacy gets the prescription, and with that, they get a block that says prior auth has been started. So this should prevent the pharmacy from sending you a fax to start prior auth. Now, without getting into how I feel about some pharmacies, you're still going to get some faxes. But it's not for want of trying. We are going to communicate that we started it, and if they look at it and do the right thing, then they'll wait. And hopefully, as they learn that you have this integrated into your EHR and it sort of becomes more knowledgeable in your community, maybe that'll stop, like duplications. But I'm a realist. I know that it's going to happen. What about Portal? So this is what Portal looks like. Some people maybe haven't been into Portal, but this is what Portal looks like if you're a parent going in and you want to look at your patient's chart, or you're a teen or a patient that's old enough to look at their own chart. Right there on their medication list, it also says in progress. So the patient also knows that, hey, prior auth is in progress. Okay, so these are all the communication points. One question that has come up is, can we text the patient and say, hey, patient, prior auth has started and it's need to wait. We'll let you know, right? we're looking into that. We haven't sort of decided plus minus whether that's kind of, we're going to try to do that in scope for phase 1 or not. But it's something that's kind of on our radar. At the very least, it's going to display in Portal here as I show. Okay? All right. Question about the queue. So, everybody knows about the RX queue, where you go in and you look at prescription errors and inbound renewal requests and pending medications and all that kind of stuff. Well, you'll notice there's a prior auth section. And that prior auth section is going to show any prior auths that need your attention. And that's going to be reflected with a queue count in the same way that if a brand new inbound renewal came in, that queue count would increase. So because we started the EPA and the pharmacy replied back that, hey, it started and here are some questions, you get that RX queue count +1 and you know that there's something there that needs your attention. It doesn't go +1 just because you started it as pending, but it doesn't, because it doesn't need your attention yet, right? It doesn't need your attention until they reply back with either approved or denied or started or not needed or whatever, right? So, and this will work just like all of our queues do in the EHR, where you can decide what view you want. You can say, hey, I don't use any of these other parts of the queue in my job. I'm the person that works prior auth in the back, and that's all I want to see is prior auths, and I'm going to save that as my defaults, right? So that always just reflects my prior auths. And maybe doctors who don't, if you practice where your doctors don't get directly involved in the working of the PA, which is not unusual, then they might not check prior auths so that they're not bothered by a ping about a prior auth. So you got this flexibility for how you decide for the prior auths to be notified that there's something there to. So I would expect like the team that does prior auths would routinely, when first thing in the morning or whenever they look to see if they got a pile of stuff sitting on the fax machine or whatever, they would look in the EHR and see if they got anything waiting there for them. So does that answer that part of it? Great. All right. So I didn't show the prior auth. You'll see some more about this in a minute. I didn't show the prior auth before I got the inbound. I have someone back in the office pretending to be a PBM who is sending in the messages at the right timing. So she was very quick, which is great. But I didn't get a chance to show you kind of sent a plan. So what you'll notice here on the prior auth, we did this kind of tabs with the current. This means these are ones that need to be worked, that you need to do something with them. Sent a plan means, yeah, I've sent this off and I'm waiting. That may be I just started it. It may be that I've answered the questions and I'm waiting for an approval. I'm waiting, right? Or there's a search where patient called and said, hey, I was told I need a prior auth, and you didn't get anything else. So you can search for that patient, pull up the prescription that was just written yesterday, and start prior auth on it. So my vision for this prior auth section of the RX queue is your one-stop shop for all prior auth needs. And you'll see in a minute that I hope that we were able to deliver on that. I want you to know that a prior auth is needed. I want you to be able to work it from beginning to end. And I don't care whether that's an electronic prior auth or a manual prior auth or it's a renewal a year later, any of those scenarios. I want you to go to your one-stop shop. I want it to be all, cool, consistent, integrated. Because cover my meds is none of that. So I should stop calling out cover my meds, but it's more just the industry hasn't seen this kind of integration before, as far as I know. All right, so let's go back to current. So this dude, we started the prior auth, and it's now telling me, hey, there's prior auth here, and I put this information about what the plan returned so that's helpful to see that what the doctor saw when they prescribed it, because sometimes there's important information in there, like in the hover where it tells you, hey, the age limit's 6 years old, or there's some of these other things, and that might inform how you answer questions or what information you upload. Because another real important tenet for this RxQ and the workflow here is, I don't want you hunting and pecking around to try to find what you need, right? I don't want you to have a set of questions laid in front of you, and then you have to look in 5 other places to answer those questions, right? I don't want, we have all the information, right? These are all the places you look. So why don't we take those things and surface them to you so that you can answer those questions, right? And so that's why we display this here, because I wouldn't want you to have to go over into eRx and try to figure out that information. This is helpful information. Case ID, a number to call if you got questions about this, the PBM's number. There's deadlines that might come associated with it, et cetera. One thing I'll note is that this case ID, once we get this inbound, not only will it say in progress everywhere where I showed you in progress, it'll now show that case ID everywhere, including the portal, which is really helpful, right? Because if the patient wants to call the insurance plan and bug them a little bit, they can tell them their case ID. They'll have the case ID, right? Because otherwise they're going to call you and ask you what the case is, or you're going to have to tell them the case ID or something, I think. How else would you know? All right, so standard kind of questions that you might answer. This is a nice, quick, short one, right? And let me orient you to the screen here. The questions show up here on the left, and then we put a little divider, and on the right is specifically addressing this idea that I want to give you everything you need at your fingertips to answer those questions on the left. So what we've done is we've extracted out data out of the chart that we think is going to be most important for answering these questions. So the first thing we did were allergies, problems and diagnoses, medication history. I think those are the bedrock, right? And then there might be visit notes that are also really important. These, I think, are the places you look for answering these questions, right? And this visit history will look very similar to the visit history in the EHR, where you have, it doesn't look exactly like it, but it should look a little familiar. And you click on one of those, and you can see the full details. Just like you do over in the EHR. You can click on it here. We're still in the EHR. I should stop saying over in the EHR. We're still in the EHR, right? You're just in the ERX portion of the EHR, right? So we got it all here so that you can see that. And that's, again, expressly designed to help you answer these questions. And then the other thing we're going to do, that we have plans to do, that will probably be a work in progress over months and even years, is to add logic and intelligence to answer these questions for you when we can. If they ask me, is the patient older than 6 years old? I probably can answer that for you, right? And it is one click that I can save you. It's just a trivial example, but there might be other things where I can start out with a diagnosis that matches the diagnosis visit from this prescription, right? And those kind of things, if I can answer it, I'm going to try to answer it for you. And that's going to take me some time to get right, because I'm going to have to look at reams of data after this is live, right, to do some of the more fancy stuff. So, but hopefully in phase one we'll have some smarts in there, but it should get smarter over time if we do our job. Let's talk about attaching chart data. You see that button down there, right? So you often answer the questions, and sometimes you attach something, right? And people know like exactly what they need to chart, what they need to attach, because you guys have done this so much. You like, if I'm dealing with this insurance X, as long as I attach that chart note, they're going to approve it. If I don't, yeah, I'm playing roulette, right? So I might as well attach it, and that way I don't have to wait for them to tell me they're not going to approve it and appeal it. I don't have to go through all that. I can just attach it and move on, right? And so this is a little clunky for you, maybe to say the least, in Cover My Meds, I think, because you go into the EHR, you go to that visit history that looks similar to what I showed you there on the right, and you print it, I think. You save it to PDF to your computer somewhere, right? And then you go back into Cover My Meds, you upload it, and then you decide, well, there's like 3 or 4 visits that are relevant here. I'm going to attach them all, and then it tells you, oh, you've exceeded the attachment limit, and then you got to try to decide, well, which one's my golden ticket, right? So it's kind of like a game. So yeah.
I have a question from the chat.
Yeah.
So we have Jane Dawkins asking, when is this expected to go live? And and the next comment says, not soon enough, this is exciting, LOL.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's a big project and we really want to get it right. Currently, based on the releases that we have queued up and an infrastructure release that's in the middle of it, we're looking at 2025, most likely kind of end of 2025. But, 2025 is shaping it to be a banner year for eRx with pocket prescribing and EPA. So just got to give us till the calendar year ticks over. So that's the best answer I got right now. That's what we're going to be targeting. We're moving, full steam ahead on finishing up Pocket and then this. So we know everybody wants it. We want it as much as you guys do, frankly. As I said, it's not an exaggeration, and I've been thinking about this project for a decade, and it's something that I've wanted to do for a long, long time. So the attaching, I described the drama about attaching. So how do we make that easier? So let me orient you to this. So what you'll notice are 3 sections here, one of which I call a custom attachment, one of which I call attach EHR documents, and one of upload files. So it may be that you already have some documents in your EHR that you want to attach, and they're in your documents section. That probably looks like how you navigate attachments in the EHR. It's just an image for the prototype. That's part of the fakie. But the idea is that navigation is going to be there so that you can choose any of those documents that you want to attach. Upload. There may be, in certain cases, where you have a note that you've created in Word that you know is going to get the job done for insurance X, and so you always print it, have the doctor sign it, and then you upload it because that's what you found to be the most effective. So that's what that button's for. And then this beauty on the left takes these sections that you saw in the other screen and allows you to decide which of these sections are important to attach that are going to drive the decision here. And this applies to the visit history. So as it's checked now, it would attach all of those things or create all of those things in an attachment. But if you click on the visit history, just like I did on the other page, then you can browse that and pick and choose what portions of those. Like, the insurance company probably doesn't care about some of the intake notes. I mean, they're not going to make a decision probably based on those things, right? But those things get in the way of uploading because they add size to the upload. It's just the way it is. So what you can do is you can uncheck those things, just get the relevant stuff, and get it in there. And you could do that across a couple visits and decide what you want to do. And then there's even a box where you could say, hey, I know if I put this special note, it's going to get approved. So you can put a little special note in there. It gets incorporated. You say create attachment. It'll create a PDF that has all those things you selected. There actually is still a size limit, because that size limit isn't a Cover My Meds problem. It's a industry insurance plan problem. They only allow a certain attachment size. But we hope to get around this idea of, I really want to attach some things from 2 different visit notes, by giving you the flexibility to pick and choose whatever you want to create an attachment. And these aren't mutually exclusive. So if you want to create a little skinny thing from the create part, and then you want to attach something else, or you want to create a little skinny thing and attach an upload, note, fine. Right? It's not mutually exclusive. So you could preview it, see the PDF. That doesn't work now. I think if I click it, it doesn't do anything. But if you would be able to preview the PDF, see how it's going to look. And then when you come back here, it would say, patient's name, number1.pdf, or whatever. Gets saved into the chart, gets saved automatically. You'd be able to see it again. And it's going to go with your answers to the questions. Right? So you answer all your questions. This is a really simple set of questions. Sometimes these are really long and they're conditional. You answer one and then you have to answer 3 other things because of what you chose on the first one, and that will grow and expand depending on what choices you make. So it should be intuitive. You attach it and then you submit it. And then now I can highlight this sent to plan. So now this shows up here that says, hey, the question set was submitted and we're awaiting response. You'll notice that it doesn't say RxQ equal to 1 there, because again, if you come in the morning and you're looking for something that might need your attention, well, you don't need this attention if it's going to take them 3 days, right? You let them mull on it and bother you when it comes in. Right? And again, we'll update statuses everywhere we need to update statuses for where it's meaningful. I think it's sort of silly, like in the portal, I think it would be silly to tell the patient, question set submitted, waiting response. I mean, we'll sort of make some reasonable choices around what it makes sense to say to the patient versus the docs and us and our EHR, right? Because I think we want those two things to be different probably. And so then the insurance company is mulling over this. My special PBM over on the other side is on the other side of the. Oh, she's actually only in Seattle, but she's getting a response all queued up here. So I'm supposed to stall now. So Morgan, you got some. Oh, we got something. See? So just like that, you saw that RxQ1 came up. So if you had been in here, you would have then seen that this came back and it says approved. Here's your PA authorization number, your valid dates, etc. And at this point, you would say, great, you finish it, and basically that just updates statuses in all the places. It says, hey, I saw it, and it updates it. It's not going to say that. That's yeah. Updated in all the places. Yeah, so it updates it where it needs to be updated. So now the patient would see, hey, something like PA approved, go to the pharmacy. ready for pickup or whatever, right? One of the things around this communication is, unfortunately, the way the standard works today, there is no way for me to communicate back to the pharmacy that was approved. Because it was an oversight when they designed the standard. There is no way for me to communicate it except at the time I write the script, which isn't a huge oversight in my opinion. And in the new script standard, which is something that we're going to build in 2026, most likely, is we are able to communicate to the pharmacy. And so that will even close the loop a little bit better. What we're thinking about doing to make this configurable, give you some options here so that when you hit finish here, it would also pop open a letter to the pharmacy that you could hit print or fax and shoot it to the pharmacy. Print it, fax it, however you do that. That way, as a way for you to try to close that loop and avoid 20 minutes later, pharmacy calling you or sending you another fax telling you to go to cover my meds. Right. So unfortunately, I think that's probably going to be needed, some sort of communication like that to the pharmacy for folks that want to try to close the loop there. The reality is If the patient gets the communication and they show up at the pharmacy is just going to rerun it and go, oh, yep, it looks like it's approved, right? So it's probably not, but by communicating to them, you might avoid a little bit of unnecessary back and forth. Yeah. Any questions overall of? All right.
First of all, so excited. Okay, so if you get a prior auth, which we hope we do, and it's good for a year,
Yeah.
and we refill the prescription a month later, how are we going to know?
Yep. So in the refill screen, that prior auth status is going to display with the dates because we'll know the dates. And so it should say prior auth not required in the insurance, RTPB. But even more than that, we're going to put that this prior auth was already approved for this date range, and so you don't have to start it.
Well, we have to uncheck it probably.
No.
Okay. All right, next question.
Yeah.
Visit history. Is it going to just populate things related to that prescription? Or is it going to be every single visit?
Yeah. Well, right now we've just sort of prototyped it to say here. I tried to make it look really similar to the way your visit history looks today, and you can kind of pick and choose which visits you want and then what you want out of the visit history. We may get feedback from you all that hey, can we restrict this down so you don't have to uncheck as many things, that kind of thing. I think that's all good feedback and something we can consider.
I mean, some of those kids have 50 different sick visits.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, and then this is just a question. I've never needed it, but this would be a great place for it. Can you use snap text in this?
Yeah. We have interest in doing snap text in eRx for a number of things, and it certainly has come up in this case to give you quick, easy ways to populate the free text box or other things. Absolutely. The other thing that I'll mention that sort of dovetails off of your renewal question is, and I have this on the diagram, but the other thing we're going to do, or that we have plans to do, is that when we know that the prior auth is expiring in January, we can say 3 weeks ahead of time or some configurable date ahead of time, have it pop into your queue that says, hey, this prior auth is expiring, you want to run it? That way you don't have to get the January onslaught of all the PAs that you got to try to do in January, right? You could maybe get some of those done ahead of time, right? So we were hoping to do that as well with renewals. And sorry, one other thing about the renewals, in that screen with the questions, if it's the exact same questions, well, we're going to answer them. That's an easy one. I can do that logic, right? Hey, we answered these 6 questions this way, and it got approved, so I got the same 6 questions. Well, we'll fill it out. You just go, yip, yip, yip. Right? It worked last time. So that's an example of how we should be able to save quite a bit of time there.
What if 2 insurances?
The question was, what if they have 2 insurances?
Yeah, so our RTPB already handles that. So the way that works today, when a prescription is created, we run both multiple insurances until we get a positive hit that it's either covered. And so in this case, we would get a positive hit that we got a response back, and so the one that and it needs a prior auth, so that one's probably going to be the most relevant. You'll always be able to look at other insurances if you want to. In that area where I show what the doctor saw for RTPB, if there's multiple insurances, we'll give you a way to show what other insurances said. So if you need to start it in the start process with a different one, you can do that. It's going to be supported for sure, because our RTPB already has knowledge of multiple insurance situations, and we'll carry that through.
Our acolyte, Raylene, who comes to every drop-in. Hey. Thank you, Raylene, with more good questions. So when this becomes active, if the provider sees the PA is required and they click Start PA, will that show in my RX queue? I am the nurse responsible for the PAs within the office. So a question about the workflow there.
Yeah, that's exactly exactly what I tried to show. So the doctor sees the start PA, it automatically gets started, and then right there in your queue, you would be able to see that it was sent to plan if you looked there, or as soon as the plan responds in one way or in any way, any response you get back, it'll come in with a ping essentially that says, hey, there's one there waiting for you. So in your case, you're the person that's managing PAs, and that's probably going to be your main use case for the RxQ. You might do other things, but you might just restrict your RxQ to prior auth so that that's all you ever see. So you don't get 15 up there and 14 of them are pendings for some other doctor so that you're not going to be involved in, right? So as an example, right, or renewal requests or something, you might just restrict it using that pull-down menu to prior auths only, and then any number you see up there, hey, that's one of my boys, I need to take care of that one. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Well, let me go back to the diagram just to make sure there aren't a couple of any other things that I want to show. Oh, yeah. So I don't have anything else to show prototype-wise, but I want to talk about this. And so, when it's denied, there's going to be an electronic appeal process. It's all going to be handled from the queue. It's going to be very similar. You're going to attach. You're going to, you can imagine you do the same things, right? Put in a note, attach it. It's not much different than what I showed you, right? So that should all work as expected. Same with more information, right? Let's talk about this manual. What happens when you try to start it and it says, hey, we don't support EPA, you got to do this manually? Or we don't know to start it, so it doesn't get started automatically, and then you get the fax, because you're still going to get faxes, right? I'm not going to be able to prevent the pharmacy from faxing you. So what do you do in the new world when the pharmacy sends you a fax? Right? They send you that fax and it says, hey, PA was started in Cover My Meds, and here's a code. First thing you do is don't go to Cover My Meds. It doesn't matter that it was started there. You don't need to go there. You don't need to uncheck it. You don't need to do anything over there. Go to your queue, find the patient, hit Start PA. That's it. Compare that to going to Cover My Meds, typing in all the patient information, putting in your code, typing in all the stuff, putting in all the other stuff, and hitting Start. Gonna be easier, right? And what's nice, so that is kind of a manual start, if you will. That is, you didn't start it electronically ahead of time, proactively. But what about when you know that the insurance company, you did try to start it electronically, and I say, hey, we can't give you questions. You need to fill out our form and fax it to us. What do you do then? Well, normally you fill out the darn form and you fax it to them, right? And you gather stuff out of the chart and fax it to them. Everything I showed you on the other screen is at your disposal. So you'll start, there'll be a button of some kind that says Start Manual PA. So now that updates everywhere that a PA is in the works, just like an electronic one does. And then create your custom attachment, do your other stuff, and instead of attaching to a question set and submitting electronic, print and fax. Get a fax back that says it approved. You go in there, and it's sitting there in your sent to plan box. You go in there and you hit a button that says record response. And you type in approved on this date with with this number and these dates. And you're going to want to do that because our goal is that 6 months from now, like the question that you had, 6 months from now, you want to know that the PA was done, whether it was done electronically or it was done manually. That's a big gap, right? When it's done completely manually with faxing, you don't have any record of that, except like in your EHR documents if you uploaded them or whatever, right? But we want it all in the same place. And in order to do that, we got to give you the ability to start manual, and then you get to do all the fancy attachment creation, and then document the various steps quickly and easily, and so that 6 months from now it looks the same. Because at 6 months, you don't care whether it was electronic or manual. All you care is whether it was approved, denied, and what the dates are. So that's, I think it's not an overselling that we're going to improve the manual process a fair amount as well, which is clearly something that you don't get anything out of to cover my meds. I mean, because it's all outside of the system. Yeah. All right. So with it.
Can I pose you a question?
Oh, of course. Morgan. I got a plant.
It's not scary. You know the answer. So let's pretend I wrote a prescription for, I was going to say Concerta, but that's a bad subject, Vyvanse. And I sent it to Walgreens, and I start the PA, and then I find out that they don't have it, and I want to send my prescription somewhere else. What happens to my PA that I started? And does it matter?
Yeah. So in essence, it doesn't matter because we've sent it to Walgreens, and in Walgreens, in that prescription we've sent to Walgreens, we've said that a PA has been started. If you go in and then say use our resend button to send it to CVS, it'll go to CVS with that same started block. But completely independent of that, you're starting and you're working because the pharmacy's not really a player. Right? They receive some communication of what we're doing, but they're not directly involved. Right?
The PA is not pharmacy specific.
Right. The PA is not pharmacy specific. The PA is between the doctor and the insurance plan, not the pharmacy just seems to be in the middle of it because they fax you a lot and tell you that. But it's just because they're just a middleman that's communicating about it, right? They're not really involved. Per se. Yeah. All right. Any other questions in person or online? Because at this point, I want to use the last 30 minutes to show you that sexy mobile. Maybe I should stop overselling it. Any other questions? No? All right. Let's see if I can get mobile working. All right. So what we're going to do is look at that.
Wow.
All right. So you're looking at my phone. This is Pocket PCC. You guys know what this is. Pocket PCC works. It's a responsive, it works on your phone. Doctors log in here, and they can do a variety of things within Pocket PCC. Yep. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a patient, and I'm going to grab a visit. I don't have to grab a visit first, but for this example I will. What you notice in the drop-down menu, look at that little baby in the middle. PCC eRx. You don't have to figure out a new URL. You don't have to download something new. You don't have to know a new username and password. None of that jazz. You just go Pocket PCC eRx, and you're in. So with 10.2, PCC eRx is going to be a fully responsive web application, screens of any size, small phones, large phones, tablets, desktops, whatever you want. Fully responsive, look lovely, however, I told yeah, however you want to look at it. It's, our great content ed person is going to be bored because you guys already know how to use PCC eRx. There's nothing to tell you. Well, no, there is, but now I'm underselling it. But it works just like eRx because it's exactly eRx is a web application. This is what you're looking at is no different than logging in from EHR, except I've made it responsive to any screen size, and I've provided a link from Pocket PCC so that things don't wrap off the edges and that you can view pharmacies and all the details. You can view the prescription history and all the details. You could renew. We don't have to pick and choose and say, oh, we're only going to provide, these 2 or 3 little pieces of functionality for mobile. Nah. You get to have your cake and eat it too. Now that's overselling it a little bit, because we might make some decisions about like things that you don't need, just to simplify and to make, because one of our number one mandates here is we want to hit 10.2. We don't want to miss 10.2 for this baby, and if it means we don't give you something functionality-wise, well, it's going to be okay if we hit 10.2. Because it's not like this is going to go away and we don't have other opportunities to improve it, right? But all of the core functionality, viewing pharmacies, adding a pharmacy, it's all viewable, right? You saw that add pharmacy? And if you got old eyes like me, the nice thing about iPhones is you pinch in on those babies. Yeah. When you got old eyes, you learn to pinch pretty quick. All right, so scroll down, you get to see your meds. You'll notice that the view of the medication history looks a little bit different, right? We normally have those controls, the blue swish and the edit pencil and the trash can over to the left. But we don't have enough real estate to put those over to the left and then cram everything else to the right. So we displayed it in a way that's clear, intuitive. If we have more space, then we have it to the left. I told you it's fun. I guess that wasn't the exact word I used, but all right. So you go down to the prescribe section. You got your favorite. You want to do a quick prescription of that amoxicillin favorite. Pops it open. And everything in creating a prescription, weight-based dosing, your real-time pricing. It's all there. You get to do your preview, make any changes you want. It's all there. It looks mostly like it looks when you go there today. Layout's a little bit different because we don't have as much real estate, but it shouldn't be unfamiliar. It should be pretty familiar. Process now, and just like that, I created a prescription for my favorite in Pocket. Hear back from the pharmacy that, I'll get to just, hear back from the pharmacy that they don't have it, you need to reroute it. Our favorite resend button. Resend that baby. Canceled and sent. Yeah.
What about the token, like the soft token? Does it kick you out if you go from this to that?
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
So the question is, I know I maybe don't need to repeat it exactly with the mic, but the question is, what about the token for EPCS, right? Because can you do EPCS? Maybe EPCS is one of these things that we're not giving you in here, right? That could be an example. We're planning to give you EPCS here. The key issue with EPCS is a DEA regulation that says you cannot use Authy or a soft phone token when you're using a phone to prescribe. So you got to have your fob. So if you want to prescribe in pocket controlled substances, better have your fob in your desk drawer or somewhere at home with you, or wherever you want that fob. You gotta have the fob. So that is a non-negotiable DEA reg. Morgan and I don't want to go to jail, so that'll be enforced. That we won't allow soft tokens because it's not legal. Because there's no way to know if there was some way for me to know, if we didn't do kind of web-based applications or web-based tokens, you could tell like where they're coming from, potentially different types of tokens that I experimented with years and years ago that weren't nearly as usable. We'd have different options, but with Authy and a web-based application, there's absolutely no way to allow those two to coexist. And the only option is to say, no soft tokens. So it's a caveat that if you want to, we actually polled everyone last year, at last year's UC, we said, what features do you need in prescribing a pocket? What is the minimum set? And nearly everyone said, well, we don't really need EPCS. We'll take it without EPCS if we can get it. But so we're like, well, we'll give you EPCS, but you got to have your fob. It's just a caveat. Not much to do. Great question, though. I was planning to say that, but I forgot. And then, little menu there, right? Pop right back over to Pocket PCC. And do whatever else you might wanted to do in Pocket, if there was other stuff. And then switch patients, all the good stuff. If you take a patient, when I picked that first patient, I went and I selected one of their visits. But it may be that this is a call at night. It's not, they haven't been seen for a couple months. You're just filling some short-term antibiotic or some short-term therapy until they can make it to your office or whatever. So what you would normally do there, right, is you'd click on eRx and you would say start eRx encounter, right? And you'd create a visit there. So we're still thinking about if this is the best way to do it, and I'd love feedback in this session, is what we do in this case right now and what I've built so far is that in that scenario, if you haven't selected a visit, it's just going to automatically create your eRx encounter. I figure, is there really a reason like I need to give you a drop-down menu to say start eRx encounter? It seems like you're on your phone, you're going to write a quick prescription. Why not just create the eRx encounter and save you a screen, save you a click, all that good stuff. So what does that sound, what do folks think about that? Does that sound acceptable? Okay, yeah. And if it was a patient that was seen today and you need to resend, well then you would pick today's visit and hit resend, right? Or you need to change it, hit today's visit, change it, right? But if it's a call and it was a visit it's not appropriate for one of your visits, then don't select a visit, jump out there. Yeah. What else? Another feedback here that would be good that we haven't, as a team yet, decided on scope is, you notice the only option I've given here is our eRx page and all the functionality on eRx page, which is a lot. We got a lot of stuff on there. We even have retail pharmacy history. I don't think you'll really ever need to use that, but you could get retail Rx history on your phone if you wanted to. But one of the questions that I'm thinking about whether people want is the queue, right? What's that? Well, like the queue that I showed actually for prior auth, where there could be pendings, and pendings are what I'm thinking of. Like maybe the doctor forgot to send something that was queued up for them, and it's sitting there in their queue, where they could jump in, go to the queue, and process that pending from the queue from their phone. That's a workflow that I thought might make sense to have the queue. It seems like probably don't need like renewal requests or change requests, because you can probably do those. I don't know.
I'll say I think that would be very helpful, simply because for those who do on-call nursing, if a medication that the nurse is able to prescribe but may want the physician to double check it or whatever, that would be good for the on-call provider to be able to see those medications that are queued for them. Yeah, so what was said here is that it could be really good functionality for like the nurse on call who has to create a prescription and wants the doctor to double check it before sending it, or maybe it's a controlled substance and you can't send those, and you could create it, have it in the queue, and then the doctor could jump on their phone and shoot it, right? And so I think there are some use cases for queue, and I think as a team we're going to have to decide what are those, and can they make 10.2, or is that going to have to wait a bit? Just because, again, our first priority is
This looks really good, right? It looks like it's ready. It's like, why can't I use this tomorrow? I got to clean up quite a lot of stuff still. It's not 100% ready yet, so Q might have to wait beyond 10.2, but it's not. It's just a scope. It's just a question of what can we do in 10.2, because we gotta finish the build fully. We gotta test it. We got some stuff to do. But yeah. I mean, some of it's ready to go, but yeah. Anything else about the Pocket and the mobile prescribing that you want to see or you got questions about? Or? And I'm here all week. If you or any of your colleagues want to take a look at Pocket, take a look at what I just showed you here because they couldn't make this session. Tell your docs. Find Dewey, find Morgan. Either one of us can pop it up on our phone and show you what I just showed you. Takes 2 minutes to show. So I think probably some other docs that didn't make it today might like to see it. So welcome them to come find us. Happy to show. Any other questions? Otherwise, I think that is it.